carry on.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of WDWNT Live Travel Tips, where we have our fabulous travel agent sponsors from Small World Big Fun Travel here to answer your questions live on the air. And hopefully you'll learn some things. And if you need more information, they're here and happy to help. So let's introduce ourselves. I'm Jason Diffendahl. Next to me is my sister, Jill.
Hello, folks.
And then we also have...
Hey, I'm Cindy Miner from Small World Big Fun.
And I'm Ashley Russell.
Yeah. And then we've got also...
Hello, I'm Lizzie.
Hello, and I'm Mary Davidson.
So we're going to answer all of your travel-related questions today, and we've got a long list of topics to cover as well. So I think we can get started.
We can get started. So feel free, anybody, to put any questions you have in the chat at WDWNtunes.com, or if you're watching us on YouTube, there's a YouTube chat. You can put them in there too. We'll be watching the chats. And otherwise, we'll get started with some questions that, or some things that Cindy wanted to talk about, some new things that are going on right now or have just started.
Yes, we got back from Toy Story Land just yesterday afternoon. So I'm telling you, y'all, it is a game changer at Hollywood Studios. Loved every single minute of it, even when we got stuck in the monsoon. The rain shut some things down for a while, but Lizzie was there with me, and we wanted to talk a little bit about some of our experiences and kind of some tips that we have for people who haven't quite been there yet, just to give you an idea of what to expect. Lizzie, do you want to kind of go through your list?
Yeah, absolutely. I have basically a list of 5 things that I want to go over when we're talking about Toy Story Land. There's a lot to kind of digest with it, but overall, the thing that you really need to know is it's just super cute. I mean, you need to go in knowing that this is going to be for all ages. So this is going to be for fans who are little fans who are new to Toy Story, and then fans who are like me, who the first movie came out when I was young and I grew up with it, and then fans who are grandparents and older who are just huge fans of the whole franchise. So the first thing I would say is just pay attention to the details. See where you are. Take a look around. There's so much detail, and I don't even think I got a lot of it, honestly, because there were a lot of people there, and it was hot, and like Cindy said, it rained. Like the sky opened up. It was an adventure for sure.
The thing that got me so excited, we were walking through, we'd ridden Slinky Dog Dash, and we were coming out, and I think you were the one that pointed it out, the Fisher-Price camper.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was one of my favorite toys growing up. And the Fisher-Price came with the little people. It's one of the merchandise kiosks is a Fisher-Price camper. It is the cutest thing ever.
It's just so amazing what they've been able to do. Like, we were standing in line to take a picture next to the Luxo ball, and I looked over, and the fence were K'NEX. They were literally the large K'NEX toys that I used to play with as a kid. And I was like, what in the world? This is a fence. They didn't need to do that. But they took every space that they could to make it so their guests would be like, oh my gosh.
And I'm sure you all know that the whole idea is that you've been shrunk down to the size of a toy, and this is all set up in Andy's backyard.
Right. And that's what I was going to say is when you enter and the cast members even say, hello, new toys. And the idea is that you have shrunk down to the size of a toy. And at one point we were walking through and we were like, oh, look down, because there's a huge footprint. And it was supposed to be in the pavement. It's supposed to be Andy's footprint. So you are in his world. You are in his yard. You are in his bedroom. And you are the size or even a little smaller than the toys. So that was my first thing, is just make sure that you are really allowing yourself to be immersed in this. I know that especially it's new. You want to get in there. You want to do you might even be hyper focused, because sometimes that's how we do Disney, if you want to do it quickly. But be a fan. Allow yourself to take a minute and look around. The second thing I want to talk about is Slinky Dog Dash. So I'm laughing just thinking about it. because it's so fun. But I had trouble thinking about how to describe it. So kind of hang with me here. So one of the ways that I described it was it's smooth, like it's a smooth ride, but it's not a kiddie ride. So it's smooth, kind of like smooth with the kind of way that the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is smooth, where you feel very secure in it. But it shoots you off in a similar way, almost like Rock and Roller Coaster does at one point, but it's not quite as fast as that. There are drops, but it doesn't go to your stomach. Okay, so
it's almost, sorry to interrupt, but it occurred to me today, it's almost like a starter ride for Rock and Roller Coaster and for Expedition Everest.
Yeah.
Because you've got that height, you've got some bigger, kind of swoopy hills, and then that one part where I'm sure you've seen it all over the internet, and I think we've got some video on our Facebook page. You've got, where it kind of, counts down and then shoots you off, and it feels like you're going straight up. So it's kind of, it might be a neat way to kind of get your kids ready for Rock and Roller Coaster and Expedition Everest.
It's not a barnstormer.
No.
So don't go in thinking that. It's not an entry thriller barnstormer kind of thing.
2 minutes long.
So
yes.
Wow. Ride is 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
more than Seven Dwarfs, but less than
Expedition Everest.
okay.
Yeah.
The
The height is 38 inches. So
Yes.
it's lower than a lot of the thrill rides at Disney World. So I don't know. This is my opinion, solely my opinion, but I would say like a good starter age would be around the age of 6 maybe. And as long as, the height requirement and all of that. But I think I would not go in expecting it to be a full kiddie ride, but it's also very approachable too. 100% outside. Okay, so if it's lightning, right? If it's lightning within the vicinity, it will shut down for a little bit. That was a little bit of a disappointment for me, especially since Hollywood Studio doesn't have a lot of rides right now. So I hope that doesn't affect a ton of people. We'll see, but it is 100% outside. Yeah, and like Cindy was saying, I thought it was just one of the most fun things that I've ever done. Like I was laughing the entire time. And then I don't want to give too much away, but when you go into the ride, again, you're a toy, you're the size of a toy. So looking around, you're part of essentially like Andy's toy box. So that's cool. Some of the toys from Toy Story make an appearance on that. I didn't ride it at night. So that's something that I would really like to do now is go back and ride it at night. And I've heard and seen some photos of it at night with the shoot off, especially. It looks really, really fun. So I think it would be really fun during the day. Also would love to do it at night too, if you're able to swing both. Anything else about Slinky Dog?
Get the fast pass at the 60-day mark, y'all,
Yeah,
or you're not going to get it.
That's the one I've been getting.
That's
sure.
the game changer right there.
For
You
sure,
got to have it.
That's the fast pass I'm going for.
Yeah, and Hollywood Studios, they've changed their fast pass tiered system because of this now, and so that changes things. So a lot of people, especially people who've been before, they want Toy Story Mania, but now you got to choose. You got to choose between Toy Story Mania and Slinky Dog and the Alien Swirling Saucers, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But that would be that's a hard choice that we can talk through. Of course, more people could probably ride Toy Story Mania with the age restrictions. But that's a harder choice. I think I would go with Slinky Dog though.
Yes.
I think I would.
For sure.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The third thing, Woody's Lunchbox. I was very surprised that you cannot go into a restaurant and sit down. Okay, so
Very lacking.
you walk up to a counter and you order your food, and then you sit down at a table outside. There is no indoor seating for this restaurant, so you need to be aware of that. Because of that, the whole restaurant area gets kind of compact. It can be a little crowded. So
It's not very big.
It's not big. It's not big. And the menu isn't terribly big either. It's mostly sandwiches and that sort of thing. but you're going to 100% want to mobile order when you're ordering from Woody's Lunchbox.
Oh, for sure.
100%. And that kind of leads me into another point of the whole area being outside. This area, you walk in and you are 100% outside the entire time, unless you are going to the bathroom or you're going to ride Toy Story Mania. That's it.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So that's it. So prepare for that is what I would say. It didn't ruin anything for me. I got really wet. It rained. I got really wet.
Right.
There were a lot of people standing underneath the bathroom when it rained. So that was a little strange. You were very close to people coming out of the bathroom, but be prepared is all I would say. You need to be hydrated. You need sunscreen, you need a hat, umbrella, whatever you do. But you just be prepared that you're going to be outside the whole time you're there.
So there aren't really like trees or awnings or anything to provide a lot of shade in this whole land. Then
the alien ride is covered. Has the ride like itself is covered. Mm-hmm. There's pieces of the Slinky Dog Dash queue that are barely covered. The whole. I mean, if it starts raining, you want to be in line at Toy Story Mania because that's pretty much it.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no shade either, so you need to be aware of that when you're in there. Just like Lizzie said, stay well hydrated and be aware of that because it got hot back in there.
Mm-hmm. But I would say I did feel like there were places to sit down. So very family friendly, very friendly for those who can't stand for long amounts of times. I think that there is seating available. So I wouldn't let that deter you from going over there.
Sure.
Slinky Dog Dash. No, we talked about that. And alien swirling saucers. Okay. Again, this one was hard for me to explain, but a lot of that too is I have not been to Disneyland in my recent years. And so there's a ride in Cars Land that has been said it's about the same.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Mater's Junkyard Jamboree.
Yeah. It's the same as Mater's Junkyard Jamboree with different theming.
Right, it's the same exact ride system, yeah. And Mater's Junkyard Jamboree is a fun ride.
Oh, it's lots of fun.
I really like it.
Yeah, it's lots of fun.
Yeah. I would say, people are asking if it's like the teacups. It's not.
I was going to ask us.
No, it's not. I would say it's kind of like a cross between the teacups and the whip. Yes. Which is kind of an old-fashioned ride that a lot of people might have ridden, at the Jersey Shore or something. Yeah. Right, but it's it's not like the teacups at all. There's really no spinning like the teacups. You're more kind of going in large circles and getting flung back and forth.
Yeah.
Flung back and forth. That's it.
Yeah. From side to side is more of it rather than spinning around and round. So the height requirement for that is 32 inches. I think that's very appropriate. I think that it's very family friendly for littles who fit that height requirement. I wouldn't have an issue personally, in my opinion, putting a 32-inch child on that ride. I think that it is, it's a minute long. It's very fun. It was very smooth, even though it takes you from side to side very quickly. There was no point where I was felt like whiplash or anything like that.
It is one of those rides that they can adjust the length of the ride experience to kind of help with crowd control.
Yeah.
I heard that too. And on opening day, they had that ride down to like a 45-second experience, but had bumped it back up to a minute longer when things kind of got, evened out a little bit. So.
Right. And I think both rides, Slinky Dog and Alien Swirling, I think they both are very good amount of lengths. I was very pleased with that. I never got off of one of those and thought, oh, that's it. Or that was a little short. I never felt that. So I was very pleased with that. So that was really my big points with Toy Story Land.
I have a couple of things to add to that, Lizzie. The new queue area for Toy Story Mania is very well done. And at the end of the Toy Story Mania ride, as you're exiting, there's a new wall that I know is going to become really popular with all the Instagram people. The popsicle stick wall. Jason, have y'all seen that?
I have not.
No.
Really cute. So it looks like, you know, when you eat a popsicle in the summer and you finish the popsicle and the stick is kind of stained from the popsicle. Nice. So they've lined them up, and it's like a fence made out of popsicle sticks. And people are gonna want to stop and get their picture taken there for sure. Yeah. So it's really cute.
It's super cute.
Yeah. But all in all, I think it is just it was fantastically well done, and I highly recommend getting down there to see it. Don't wait. Let's just get down there to see it. It's really well done.
I really feel like it's a solid addition to the park. You know, there's been so much that's happened with Hollywood Studios over the past 2 years, and a lot of that has been removing things. Yeah. And when we went, I felt like it was a very smooth transition from Pixar Place into Toy Story Land. I really felt like it was a strong addition that felt very natural when you went in. And I really felt like they just did a top-notch job. Everything is so colorful and beautiful and fun and nostalgic and
so the wait times on the My Disney Experience app,
they're not bad.
95 minutes for Slinky Dog Dash right now. I don't think that's bad at all.
Toy Story Mania is 80, so you still want to pick Slinky Dog for your Fast Pass, but that's not bad. So there's no reason not to go ahead and go. You're not going to need to wait for crowds to die down. We can go ahead and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess the weekend was the big crowds, and everybody who was going to go like right when it first opened went on the weekend, and now that it's the weekday, all the locals aren't going to be there, so
settle out a little bit, right? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Here's a question. I think this is sort of a paraphrase of a question we got in the chat. When you go into the land, the idea is that you're shrunken down to the size of a toy.
Right.
Is that like obvious and evident, or is it just kind of like that's what happens, but you don't really realize it?
I think it's what happens, but you don't really realize it. The entrance is right there between, One Man's Dream and the bathrooms that are right next to the old entrance to Toy Story Mania. The entrance to Toy Story Mania now, they moved to inside Toy Story Land. Right. So as you walk through there, there's a little bit of it's kind of a nice walk of transition from Pixar, the street Pixar Place in front of Toy Story Land into the new Toy Story Land area. And it's shrubs and things like that. But the first thing you see is Woody, 20-foot tall one. And so, from that point on, that's when you kind of first realize, okay, I've been shrunk. And as you make your way into the park, you'll see Andy's big footprint, is one of the first things you see, and everything, the street lights are Tinker Toys. And so when you get in there, you've been kind of shrunk down, but there's no magic or anything that kind of, happens on the way. You just,
And there are no character meet and greets in the land itself, right? So that because you would otherwise be sort of taken out of the idea that you're shrunk, right? So if Woody is 25 feet tall, there can't be a Woody walk around meet and greet character, because that would be disproportionate to what is actually in the land.
The Green Army men were everywhere.
They are, because they're the right size.
Right. They're supposed to be the same size as you. Right. We're supposed to be shrunk down to Army Man size, as opposed to Woody size, which is much bigger.
Right. But that was a lot of fun. I mean, they were there and involved and sneaking up on people and interacting. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Were there also Green Army women? That's the story we're hearing, is that there are also Green Army women, not just men.
I saw a blurb about it, but did y'all notice?
I don't think I saw any.
I don't know that I did.
But I wouldn't know if that would have struck me right. I don't think,
because they're all just green.
They all look the same. They look like the toy. So
androgynous.
Yeah. Huh. it wasn't obvious to me if there are. So,
Right.
so yeah.
How was the food at Woody's Lunchbox? My big question is, has anyone tried the s'mores French toast sandwich? Because that is more than anything the thing I'm super excited about Woody's Lunchbox for.
I didn't have a chance to eat at Woody's Lunchbox this weekend, mostly because the rain kind of threw us off our groove a little bit. But I've been at a lot of events where they've served, food from the menu, and the s'mores French toast, it's messy. So you're going to want a lot of napkins if you want to tackle that one. But they call them it's like nachos, but they're made with tater tots.
Tachos.
Tachos, yeah. I never know, and I took a picture of the menu. The tachos, yeah, those are super popular. But it's a pretty simple menu: turkey sandwiches, grilled cheese. There's a brisket sandwich. And this was the lunch menu for, they've got some special Pop-Tart things that they do for breakfast, but it's,
are they doing breakfast?
Yes, they were doing breakfast.
The
other thing that I remember about Woody's Lunchbox is that the tables are all, concrete, pole into the concrete. So you cannot move the tables. You can move the chairs. But if you've got a big party that's trying to sit, with each other, you can't kind of move those tables.
Can't drag them together.
So, but
so we got a question in the chat.
Sure.
Hello, going to Disney World the first time in September and could not get a fast pass for Slinky Dog Dash or Flight of Passage. Any advice on how to change my plan of attack?
Be there first.
Yes. Be there early, be there first. Go straight there.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I think that when we say be there early, be there first, if the park opens at 9,
be there at 8.
No, be there at like 7:30. You need to be there early. You're going to wait somewhere.
Right.
Is my theory. You just cannot avoid the wait. So I personally think it's better to go early, do your waiting before the park opens, get in, get out, and then move on while everybody else is standing in that huge line.
Right.
Right. Plus, at 7:30, it's not going to be super hot like it would be at 11 or 12 or in the afternoon. So, if you got to stand around and wait, that's 7:30 in the morning is not the worst time to do it.
Right. And also for like in Toy Story Land, if you've got kids and you're trying to sign up for Jedi training, and the kids have to be over there to see that, and you've got to go straight to to Slinky Dog Dash, that does kind of present some choices that may have to be made, and so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But if Slinky Dog Dash and Flight of Passage are your priority earlier than you think you need to be there, and go straight there. And they start letting people into the parks a little bit earlier to kind of help with the crowd control. So at least, you're not running from the front of the park all the way back in when they do.
I just had this conversation with one of our staffers about Flight of Passage and Pandora, and he said he gets there about 8:15 if the park opens at 9 and rope drops, and they'll let people in a little bit early, especially into Pandora, because they know everybody's there for Flight of Passage. So he gets there, and if they'll let him in a little bit early, he can do Flight of Passage and then hit River Journey, because everybody is mostly in line for Flight of Passage, and be done both of them by 9:30. So it is possible if you're willing to put in that time and get there early.
Yeah.
Yep. And the other thing I'll mention as an alternate way to do this, if you're a night owl and not a morning person, and there's no way you're going to get up at 6:30 in the morning to get to the front entrance of the park by 7:45 or 8 o'clock. The other thing, and I've done this actually rather successfully on Flight of Passage, is if the park closes at 9 or 10 or whatever, get to Flight of Passage like 10 minutes before park close.
My daughter just did that a week ago. They went and jumped on Flight of Passage. They got in line 5 minutes before park close, and it wasn't too long at all.
Yeah. So when we did this back in April, and the wait time that was posted was something like 130 minutes. And we waited no more than an hour. We were actually, I think we were in and out in an hour. Oh, so right. I think for these really popular attractions, they always post a wait time at park close that's much higher than reality, because they don't want too many people jumping in line, because it just extends the whole
They don't
operation.
want to be running Flight of Passage till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Closes, they're gonna let you ride.
Right. And so as long as you're in line, they're going to let you ride, and you kind of have to ignore the wait time. And you also can't go up to the cast member at the front and say, is it really 130 minutes? Because they're going to say yes.
Because they want to go
home. Right. I mean, they don't know what it really is, but it's the whole thing where they have to pretend that it's that long, because they don't want you to get in line. I mean, those poor people running the ride are going to be there for 2 hours after the park closes. And then they have to shut everything down and get home. I mean, if the park closes at 9, they're going to be there till midnight. So they really don't want you to get in line at 5 minutes before close, but you have a right to. And as long as you do it before the actual closing time, you will be able to ride. So that's if you're a night owl and not a morning person, that's the other way to do it without a fast pass.
I'm interested though.
Frozen and Raptors as well.
I'm interested, though, how that will happen, how that will work with Slinky Dog, because I do think there's going to be a large amount of people who want to ride it at night. And so I think we'll have to just see how that goes. Because
and the other problem with Slinky Dog is you can see the line. I mean, Flight of Passage, you have no idea how long the line really is. But Slinky Dog, the line is all out in the open, so you'll be able to very easily tell if they're artificially pumping up the wait times.
Yeah,
good point.
And just to tie Pixar Pier in here, same with the Incredicoaster, that the nighttime experience of it is definitely a different, and a lot of people think better experience. And again, you can also see most of the queue, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That you'll know, but it is going to be that push at night for people who want to have the nighttime experience.
Right.
Yeah. And so if you really want that nighttime experience, your best bet is probably to wait till more towards the winter, because summertime, it doesn't get dark until right around park closing, versus in the winter, you're going to have 3 or 4 hours of darkness before the park closes.
Right.
Good point.
Good point. Extra good. So any other questions about Toy Story Land or anything that we've talked about for that?
There's no other questions in the chat right now.
Well, one of the questions that we've been getting a lot, I know, we're located in Arkansas. Lizzie's in the Nashville area. Mary's also in the Nashville area. Y'all, it's hot here. It is just so dang hot. And so if you're trying to plan a last minute summer vacation and you just need to get out of the heat, we really want to talk about Disneyland. I mean, Mary just got back from Disneyland, and Mary, I want you to kind of share some of your experiences with the new Pixar Pier and all that kind of stuff. But it just, people, I think, especially from this side of the country, kind of might, it feels sometimes it's very Orlando focused. But I really like to wave that Disneyland flag and say, don't forget about that. And summer is a perfect time to go.
Summer. So I just got back from there for a quick 3-day weekend last weekend. Summer's a great time to go because many of the annual passes are blocked out. Yeah. So all of the SoCal annual passes to Disneyland are blocked out for most of the summer. Which really, so you think about Walt Disney World and you think about, like weekends, and it's always crowded on the weekends because locals always go. It's kind of the opposite in Disneyland, where Saturdays are not anywhere near as busy as you would expect them to be if you're accustomed to going to Walt Disney World. So, I was there for 3 days. One of the days it was kind of hot. Yeah, but it wasn't humid like it is here in the East Coast. So
it's not the same.
Or here or in Orlando.
Right.
Mary, how was the weather when you were there last weekend?
Well, I'll have to say, my husband works for an automotive company, and so they have shutdowns where they work at. So we have to vacation either this time of the year or at Christmas. So we're used to going to Disney World where it is a blazing inferno most of the time.
Yeah.
Just, you just puddle and sweat. So we were expecting, I hadn't been there before. I didn't know what to expect. And we stepped off that plane, and I was like, what has happened? It was like I'd been taken to another planet. There was like zero humidity.
Oh.
That's why everyone is so fit out there. Running and hiking and Tai Chi outside.
And it's never cold either.
Right.
It's always like the perfect temperature there.
It was great. So we would go to the parks and there would be people in their winter coats. And I'm looking around thinking, I mean, it felt so good. Like no humidity. The sun was beautiful. The skies were blue. I couldn't get over it. Like when we go to Florida this time of the year, we're wearing 2 and 3 different changes of clothes in a day, or we're going to be the stinky family. There, you can be out all day long. You don't even break a sweat. It was a game changer. And I kind of fall into that, you know, we always just go, it's closer. Disney World's closer. You're an hour and a half on a plane and you're there. But really, Disneyland was a 3.5-hour plane ride out there, quick, easy, and man, for that weather. And the parks themselves.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that, I mean, so I fly out of Philadelphia. Sometimes airfares to Los Angeles are cheaper than Orlando. I mean, it's a 5.5 to 6 hour flight versus a 2.5 hour flight. But there's plenty of instances where I've gotten, you know, flights to Los Angeles for less than I normally pay for Orlando. So it's not even, that shouldn't even be a factor when you're thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you might think it's expensive, but it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you got a Southwest at your airport, you can go into Orange County as well.
Yeah. So
and there's transportation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mary, so tell us about Pixar Pier.
Well, first of all, I don't know. I've seen pictures of what it looked like before they had done the whole revamping of it. But it is cute. It is so cute. Everything is Pixar. There's Pixar everywhere. That Incredicoaster was something else. We rode it, and one day we rode it 5 times.
Wow.
Yes, it was fabulous. But I will tell you, it was, you know, my son, who is 17, he is super into detail. And he would, at the end of the day, he was like, did you see so-and-so and such and such? And I was like, where was that at? And I think it was at the point where you turn upside down, and I was just holding on for your life. But he caught the detail. So, you know, it was really, even the little carnival games, we spent $35 trying to win a $10 Wally. We failed. We were the big losers, but we did. Everything is themed. You know, they have the little, everything's Pixar themed. The prizes you can win, the food, little food huts, even the cars on the Ferris wheel are Pixar characters. It was just really cute.
Okay, so how is that coaster?
What's the Incredicoaster?
Went upside down.
Oh, it was great. Well, you start out and they launch you like on Rock and Roller Coaster.
Okay.
And then you go up this big hill and then you go straight down. And then there's lots of looping and there's a one upside down and they're shooting you through tubes. It was great.
Violet's tunnel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tunnels.
Violet.
The tunnels are pretty cool. I didn't ride it 5 times in one day. I think I rode it 5 times over the course of the weekend, though. The tunnels are cool, but the problem is that they kind of get washed out during the daytime.
Yes.
So that's a ride that's much better at night. Mm-hmm. Like you're talking about, Slinky Dog Dash was fun, and I'd like to go back and ride it during the night. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you that Incredicoaster really needs to be ridden at night because you'll see so much more of the effects in those tunnels.
I agree. Yeah, the last time we rode was at dusk, and you could see it much better than in the bright daylight for sure. But that's one of those that Max Pass. We had got Max Passes every time, so you know that is a thing. I don't know why everybody would not get that Max Pass. It was fabulous.
So, Mary, compare that to a Fast Pass, because most of us understand Fast Pass, and maybe people don't know Max Pass quite as much.
Okay. Well, the way the Max Pass works is it's linked to your ticket. So when you enter into the parks, that activates your Max Pass. So you can get right on, even in extra magic hours. We were there extra magic hours, and you can still utilize it. So as soon as you go through the gates, you look on your app for your Max Pass, and it'll show you all the Max Passes that are available. So let's say we want to ride Indiana Jones. It would say Indiana Jones is available from 8:45 to 9:45. So you'd select that for your party, and then it will tell you when you can make your next Max Pass selection. So, and it's not always the same. Like sometimes you can make another Max Pass in 30 minutes, and sometimes you have to make it in an hour and a half. So that was a little bit of a learning curve. Like sometimes I would have one Max Pass waiting to use, and then other times I could have 3 waiting to use. You have to really just pay attention to when you can make the next Max Pass.
It's kind of like the old paper fast passes will tell you on the bottom when you can make your next one, and Max Pass will do the same thing. You just have to look at it. So the other thing to mention about Max Pass is that it's essentially equivalent to a Fast Pass without having to go to the Fast Pass machine. And so what that means is that you don't have to make the trek all the way back to Pixar Pier to get a Fast Pass for Incredicoaster. The minute you step inside the turnstiles, your Max Pass is activated. You can go on the app and you can get a Max Pass for Incredicoaster. And then by the time you walk back there, it may be your return time already.
That's exactly right.
What it does is it saves a heck of a lot of walking. I mean, that was one of the big complaints at Walt Disney World when Fast Pass first rolled out, years and years ago, was that you had to run all across the park back and forth, and it was a whole lot of extra walking to get these Fast Passes.
Yeah. It was only extra walking for the mom. Everybody else got on the line.
No, that was me. I was old enough to be sent off and run with everybody's passes to the next Fast Pass and then run back.
I would run with the pass.
So
I have a question about that. So do you have to be inside of the park, or can you be in one of their resorts to make it?
That's the first thing. You have to activate it the first thing in the morning, but then once you enter that park, you can leave the park and go back to your resort and still make Max Passes outside of the park.
Yep.
But you have to activate it that first time. And you can do it for either park. Like if I'm in Disneyland and I want to get a Max Pass for California Adventure, you can do that. You can have a Max Pass at each park at the same time.
Excellent.
Yep. So it saves a huge amount of time and running around to get the Fast Passes. And it only costs $10 a day, which for the amount of time and running around that it saves, that's
what you spent
totally
to get
worth
there.
And you get the meal maker with it too.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. You do. So that's another benefit. And I think the other, and Lizzie, I don't know, did that answer your question? Because the other thing is, a lot of times people that are staying at a Disney hotel, like the Disneyland Hotel, will get on the monorail first thing in the morning. And so you actually scan your ticket at the monorail station entrance at Downtown Disney. That will activate it too. So your ticket has to get scanned somewhere to show that you're in the park that day. And as soon as that happens, whether it's
not the position, not where you are, but that you've scanned your ticket.
Yep, exactly.
That's good. Yep.
Wonderful.
And, I think that, if you've never been to Disneyland versus Disney World, I think it's really important to know they really are 2 completely different parks. Yes, they've got some of the same attractions and there's very definitely some commonality between the two. But if you've never been to Disneyland and you're a huge Disney fan, you really need to consider, heading out there to see it, because it's so much more intimate and everything is walkable. I mean, if you're talking about Disney property, the first time I went to Disneyland, what really blew me, there were 2 things that blew me away. The first one was walking through Disney or downtown Disney into this plaza. And I looked to my left and there's the train station to go into Disneyland. And then I looked to my right and there was the entrance to Disney's California Adventure. Yeah. And there wasn't even really a football field difference between the 2. They're right there.
Same, Cindy. It totally blew my mind when I saw that the first time.
I know. Right. And the second thing is, walking into Disneyland for the first time, you can really feel the history. Everything is small. Everything is so much smaller.
It's such a weird, like, deja vu because it looks like you've been there before, but not really.
Yeah.
And last 2 years ago, we just had one day where my kids and I could go as part of another trip. And so we decided to do just the Magic Kingdom and to do the 1950, am I saying that right? 57? Whichever, 55. We went through and figured out which ones were the original rides. And that was our goal for the day, was to ride all of the original rides.
Yeah. And the things that they do with, my favorite thing was the Haunted Mansion, where they put the overlay, the for Christmas on there. That was that's the cutest thing I've ever seen. But you know, they just have different feels to them. It's a lot more laid back in California, and
we got Hyperspace Mountain while we were there.
Yeah. So if you're looking for something to do that's kind of a long weekend, just right before school starts, and it's not hot, you know, we highly recommend it. So, for sure, Jason, you're looking like we have a question.
We have actually a couple in the chat right now. So, let's do the first one was, have any of you been to the H2O glow nights at Typhoon Lagoon, and do you think it's worth the money?
I have not been,
but it looks
really so cute. It's just a matter of, you know, we were there this past weekend and we just didn't have time to work it in, but it looks so cute.
I think we've just heard positive things about that.
Yeah, I know one of the WDWNT staffers went to the first one and did a story on it. So if you go to WDWNT.com, I know there's a write-up on it. You can look at that. But I mean, it looks fun. I think Typhoon Lagoon at night is fun. Like, that's something to experience no matter what, because it's not something that you get to do every day.
Right. And I feel generally Disney is doing a really good job with those special nighttime events that they're doing. I may have some difference of opinion on some of the dessert parties and those kinds of things. But, you know, when they've got the park open early or late for a hard ticket event and you're purchasing admission to that, they really have been doing a great job with those.
All right, next question.
Sorry. That's my dog. Her name is Maybe Dean, and I'm going to... oh, Lord. Sorry about that, y'all.
At first, I thought it was a person screaming.
No. She's broken. We love her. She's the office dog. We love her, but she's very broken.
She just did the actual Slinky Dog dash.
She did it in the office
because she's a Slinky dog.
Sorry about that. Next.
Next question. The ultimate Disney Fall into Magic package after Labor Day.
It looks so cool.
Y'all, have you seen that?
It's got the neatest experiences. They are very unique, one of a kind. It is September 3rd through 8th only. It is just then. So that's when you got to go.
Okay.
So
what do they want to know about it?
I guess they already have plans to go at that time.
Okay.
But they're thinking the package looks pretty interesting. So I don't know how easy or how you can add that package onto an existing reservation, maybe.
Well, it's a special. You have to reserve it. It's not something that you can add on. This is a special thing that you're doing. So when it's kind of like booking, you know, free dining. You call, you make your reservation, and you book with the free dining discount on there. I'm looking up this.
So their best bet would be to call you and say,
call us and let us book that, make that reservation for you.
Because there's a dinner at Epcot. There's a nighttime safari. There's 2 hours of exclusive access in Toy Story Land. I think that right there is it.
Just hang it up. Yeah.
And Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween.
That is.
It's a great package. It's a great package.
A lot of fun.
I used to go like that week all the time. Couple, 10 years ago, that was the week we used to go right after Labor Day because it was so not crowded.
It's really cool, but you would have to book it as a package. Yeah.
So your best bet is to call up Cindy or one of the agents at Small World Big Fun, or go to smallworldbigfun.com/DisneyFans and go ahead and try to switch over your reservation to book this new package instead.
Hit that request a quote button and it'll send us a form and we'll have somebody call you really quickly.
Okay, let's see. The next question is, how do you feel about the new Pixar-themed food? Do you think Disney is finally trying to step it up to Tokyo-level food in terms of theming and Instagram worthiness? That's a great question. I will say from the
pictures of the food. Come on.
So we did it. The Pixar Pier. We did a full write up of all the food from the Pixar Pier premiere event last weekend. That's up at WDWNT.com. But I will tell you that I think the problem is that they made a huge effort to make it Instagram worthy, and the Poultry Palace box, the chicken box from Poultry Palace, is so cool looking. The problem is that the best part of the food is the box. I think the box tastes better than the chicken.
I saw lots of those boxes, and then I would see the chicken inside the box, and I was thinking, oh, like the whole thing looked really cute, but the chicken maybe not so much.
The chicken
Maybe
was
you can ask them if you
good.
can take a picture of the box, then order something else.
The chicken was not good. And you have to order the chicken because the only other thing that stand has is a turkey leg. But if you order the turkey leg, you don't get it in the box.
I just thought of something. Speaking of Instagram-worthy food, did you see the alien popcorn buckets? Mary,
Yeah.
did they have those at Disneyland?
I did not see them there.
They're like this big, and the alien's head and the popcorn. Cutest thing I've ever seen them on. If I could have gotten them home in my suitcase, I'd have bought 50 of them. They are so cute.
At $25 a pop, no less.
Maybe not. There were lines to get those alien popcorn buckets, just like there were lines to get on those rides.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding.
The new cups too, with the alien and the little claw on the bottom of the straw, and are really cute too. Yeah,
we came home with one of those.
Yeah,
that's a lot smaller.
You know, the food. I think the food at Woody's Lunchbox is not all that fancy, but you know, from the events that I've been to where we've sampled it, it was good. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't like the chicken story.
No, and I think that's you
That's
know,
good.
people want that in Disney. They want things that aren't that fancy. They want easy counter service, but they want things that aren't, you know, they want a little more variety than just a burger or chicken nuggets. They want a little bit of creativity, but not too weird, not too far outside the norm. And they want that easy counter service access, especially for like lunch, if they're getting for, you know, a big family and things like that. So I think knowing that, you know, at least some of the new offerings are really good. And it seems like Disney is, you know, stepping up some of their counter service.
Yeah, I would agree.
One of the better things in Pixar Pier was the angry dogs.
Yeah,
That's
hilarious.
The angry dog was actually pretty good. I mean, it's a spicy sausage, but it was tasty, and that was a pretty neat, very well designed stand.
But you could get non-spicy if you
could get the slightly annoyed dog.
Yes,
which is but that's just a plain hot dog. I kind of feel like that's a waste.
Oh no,
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was funny.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly, I think at least at Pixar Pier, they went a little too far in trying to make the food Instagram worthy to the detriment of taste.
That's not a good idea.
No, it wasn't a good idea.
No, not a good idea.
I stuck with the churro personally. I knew what to expect with the churro, so I stayed tried and true churro.
Did you get any of the colored ones, Mary?
I had a pineapple one, and that was very good.
Pineapple churro, really?
But did you get a rose gold or a millennial pink?
No. I like to say
millennial pink churros.
Disneyland gets very creative with their churros.
I know. I want to go just for
and
that.
do you know
Right.
why? Because they've got people booking trips
For the
because
churros.
no, for the millennial pink stuff to get
Yeah.
the ears, the whole millennial pink thing is driving business. It's
Well, they're
Yeah.
doing an annual pass holder churro challenge right now. So it seems like the locals and the APs really get into the churros out there.
It's all, I think West Coasters are different
Yes.
than Floridians in terms of
it's
that
like
kind
a
of thing.
little thing out there. Like if I had a nickel for every churro I saw,
Yeah.
early
You can go back to Disneyland tomorrow.
early retirement for me. I could just, buy an island somewhere.
We had the Pixar Pier has 2 churros at the Senor Buzz churro cart. There's a spicy, I forget what it's called. There's like a spicy one that's like cinnamon red hots. That wasn't great as a churro. I mean, if you like those little spicy cinnamon candies, that's exactly what it was. I didn't like it too much, but I could understand people liking that. And then the other one was like a galactic galaxy churro, which I think was just the standard churro flavor with like silver speckled sugar instead of plain. So that was fine. It was just a regular flavor churro, but it was more picturesque.
Maybe one of us needs to go out there and do like a tour of churros as an article.
Well, they change them so often too. Like the pineapple one, I don't know if it's even still there.
You have to keep going. Okay.
But they change them pretty often.
Periodic churro check-in. We have a couple other questions that I want to make sure we get to about specifically you guys and Small World Big Fun. Right. The first one is, do you have access to the Florida resident hotel deals and pass holder hotel discounts at Disney World?
Absolutely. We sure do.
So, and I think that's important for our listeners to know that, if they do have access to any of those discounts, you guys can still get that as well. It's not like they have to go and do that on their own.
And, our job is to make this easy. And we also really, really work hard to make sure you're getting the best price that is available for you for your trip. So, we've been doing this for a long time, and that's really one of our main priorities with working with people. And, we've said this before, we haven't said it in this podcast. We don't charge fees for our services. When we book the package, we're compensated by Disney. So we work for, our clients for free, basically. Kind of a win-win.
Right. You pay the same amount. Doesn't matter if you book through us or through Disney. It's exactly the same, and maybe less because we might find a better deal.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You guys might have access to things that that other people, or be able to see a broader spectrum of what's available to know. Oh, if you go 2 weeks later, you'll actually save $500 or something like that on your hotel.
Yes.
Well, and two, if I can add to that, I noticed when I was in the line for California Adventure one morning, we had early morning magic for the guests that stayed at Disneyland Resort. There were about 10 people in front of us in line, and I could hear part of their conversation, and it was obvious they were not staying at a Disneyland resort. And they thought they were making their grand plan for where they were going to dash to. And I thought, this is fixing to get really ugly. I mean, he's not going to be happy. So when they got to the front and found out they were not getting in, he was very upset, and he couldn't understand he had these tickets and why he couldn't get in. And I think that's important with working with a travel agent, is that we know exactly and can tell you exactly what you have, so that you're not faced with those situations when you get to the park thinking you're going to get one thing and that's not what you have.
And the flip side is true too, that not everybody who books at a Disney resort necessarily knows about extra magic hours and might miss out on an extra hour or two in a park that they didn't even realize they had.
Exactly.
And how many people, there's WDWNT.com, the amount of information that is on the website in planning a Disney vacation, it really, fans and people who are really into this, planning for me is half the fun. I mean, that's kind of how I got into this business, because I'm a planner and I enjoy it so much, but the amount of information is overwhelming. So why not work with somebody who can, make it easy?
Right? And it's always changing. Yeah. I mean, last month ago, Hollywood Studios was different than it is today. Right. I mean, different seasonal things, park hours, knowing what's going on when. So even if you took a trip 3 months ago, or your best friend did, or your neighbor did, or whoever, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to do all of the same things or the same way. That's even if they traveled recently. And so being able to keep up with everything. I think I've even said this before. I'm a big nerd. We're all kind of big nerds. Sorry, you are.
Speak for yourself, please.
Yeah. So I would know this stuff anyways. So we might as well help people out with this information. And so this stuff's always changing. Menus, dining plans, the app, all of that. It's always changing. So we have up-to-date information.
The app just added bus times.
Yeah.
Bus wait times. That's right. And you're going to tell your friends, oh, they have this fantastic cinnamon churro. You really got to go. And then by the time you get there, it's going to be gone. It's going to be like a millennial pink garbage tasting churro instead of pineapple, and they're going to be all disappointed. So yeah, it really is important.
We try to help with that. We
Up
try
to date.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know how much churro predicting we can do that.
Yeah, that might be difficult.
That might be hard.
Part two of this listener's question, just to make sure we get it in, and I believe the answer is yes, but just to get it straight from you guys can also help plan trips to overseas parks, correct? So he was specifically asking about Disneyland Paris, but that goes for Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong. If it's Disney and you want to go, you guys can help them out.
Disney and you want to go, give us a call. Shanghai and Tokyo are kind of a little bit different, but you know, when we talk about, we're Disney destination specialists. So that's Disney World, Disneyland, the cruise line, Adventures by Disney, Aulani, Disneyland Paris, all of those places. So yeah.
Great.
What else?
All right. I don't think we have. Oh, all right. So the last question that I think we could probably finish off with, somebody asked, how is the monorail different in Disneyland compared to Walt Disney World?
For me, I think people utilize that more as an attraction, because you enter into it from downtown Disney and it takes you into Tomorrowland, and it's just a loop. So whereas the monorail in Disney World get you to the different resorts or to a different park, it's more used as an attraction. I mean, yes, you can get into Disneyland from downtown Disney, but I think many people just stayed on that loop and just kept riding and riding and riding.
They do. And that's one of my biggest frustrations when I'm trying to get on the monorail at the downtown Disney station, is that the cars are full and no one's getting off. And I'm like, how do you expect me to get on?
When I had a 3-year-old there,
they had their churros. They weren't going nowhere.
No.
Oh, that's fun.
Just get your churro and push your way and just start like smacking at people with your churro to get into the monorail.
Yeah. But no, the monorail at Disneyland was originally designed as an attraction, and it was really more of a proof of concept. And then when they built it at Disney World, they built out a full-fledged transportation system. So you know, most people would not use it as a transportation system at Disneyland, although you can, and I normally do. Like if I'm in Disneyland and I'm going back to the hotel, I'll certainly hop on the monorail in Tomorrowland and ride it to downtown Disney. And it might not be any quicker, but it saves you, you know, a mile of walking or something.
Right. Right.
So, all right. I don't see any other questions on our chat, so why don't we wrap this up? Thank you, Cindy, and everybody else for coming on tonight and helping us to answer questions from our listeners. Once again, Small World Big Fun is the official travel agent sponsor of WDWNT, and they are happy to help you plan any Disney trip without any fees. They charge no fees at all, so their services are all free to you. You can head over to smallworldbigfun.com/DisneyFans, all one word, and fill out the form, and they'll get back to you right away with the information that you're looking for and help you get your reservations in order.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say, Cindy?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground today. So thank you so much for having us. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it too. We always do. And we'll look forward to next time when we get to discuss even more Disney travel experiences and tips, because you guys have some great tips for our readers. And we all love going to Disney, and we all love doing it at the best value and in the most effective, you know, save your time, get on all the rides you want to get on, get all the meals you want. And you guys are there to help people do that. So
That's right.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it. Let's say good night, and thanks to all the viewers who are watching. And you know, if you have any questions, you can once again contact smallworldbigfun.com/DisneyFans, or you can email us at www.newstoday@gmail.com, and we'll direct you to the right place. So thanks again, and everybody have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
have a great night.
that was fun.